transportation system in Quebec. And we are here today to present you our solution for this new transportation system. So, you can go. First of all, our solution is based on the sustainable model concept for having a sustainable transport. So we use the goals like we want a transport that's safe, that is affordable, that is accessible, efficient, resilient, and that minimizes carbon and other emissions and also environmental impact. To be able to have until 2045 only zero emission vehicles in the whole province of Quebec. So this is our goal, and this is what we use it to develop our solution for you today. It's a little bit slow, but it's going to work. So this is the methodology that we use to develop our solution. So as I said before, we used the goals of a sustainable transport model to do a brainstorming. So using that goals, here I'm going to show just like the two first, so you have an idea. We use the brainstorming to think about some criteria evaluation for the transportation system that we were going to develop. Next, we collected data. So we used all those criteria evaluation to collect data for different types of transportation. So here we collected data for electric cars, for buses, for active transportation, which includes walking and cycling, for rail systems, for motorcycles, scooters, snowmobile, and ATVs, and also for the eVTOLs that are a future that is coming fast. So we collected data for all these vehicles using all those criteria that we defined in the previous steps. And then we used the scamper method to be creative and to be able to think about what we want for our solution, what we want to substitute, what we want to combine, what we want to adapt, what we want to modify, put together, exchange, and reverse for our final solution. So we use it also the scamper, and we are going to talk a little bit more about our solution now.
Yeah, so as my teammate said, we use several methods. So here are kind of the results of our evaluations. So this is kind of a breakdown of our categories of criteria. So safe, affordable, accessible, efficient, adaptable, community, and climate. So these are kind of the groups of criteria that we thought were relevant to designing the transport system. And so from there, to compare the various modes of transportation, we developed that into measurable metrics, such as, there too. Anyway, so we built 10 metrics. So accident rate, physical activity, the cost, so either usage price or cost to governments, accessibility features, comfort, frequency of service, passenger flow rate, travel range, community cohesion, as well, and finally emissions. So these were the metrics that we used to evaluate our modes of transport. So we were able to build a heat map of strongest or strongest in the criteria to weakest in the criteria. So here's a heat map of the 10 criteria and our chosen means of transportation. So we selected 4 based on our data collection that seemed to be the highest performing. From there, to help us kind of visualize where we have to address our issues, because this is kind of a messy heat map. For the next one, we generated a radar plot to compare the 3 main alternatives to the electric car. And so this is kind of this visualizes the strengths and weaknesses. So not so much, if you see emissions for electric car, that means it's good for emissions. So this kind of helps us move to the next step and find ways to improve on the weaknesses of every mode of transport. So yeah.
So here is the final solution, or like the main solution we are proposing. It's called Wellway, and your path to well-being. So basically, there are four concepts in this solution. First of all, we call it flowway. It's try to minimize the effort transition to do the transition between different modes of transportation. So flowway is more like a transportation center. We will explore it afterwards. And then we are focusing on what we will keep up with the evolution. So basically, keep track, transferring petrol cars and different transportation to zero emission, to cleaner and greener, cleaner and greener resources to support these transportations. And then we will also try to do the behavior change for the general public. So by reshaping the urban transportation choices through targeted behavior changes. So through this, we adopt the technique of gamification. We'll create an app that could transform sustainable transportation into rewarding game. So try to encourage users to earn points for their eco-friendly travels and awareness activities using the system. Yeah, so here is the app. We can see on the app, there's the points, and then we have the map with different flowway centers on the map. And then you could find a bike or find an EV using this app. It's like the features of the app. And going to the detailed solutions. So first of all, the evolution. So basically, like we said, we still want to do the transition to zero emission for all modes of transportation. So here we try to list some proofs that actually the Quebec, what's happening in Quebec and what we want to keep up with. First of all is the light vehicles. So we think that light vehicles is still a necessary choices for as it's the most flexible transportation. But we want to promote car sharing, such as company with as Cominoto, and they're changing everything, all their vehicles to EVs. So this is what we think that we need to continue to do. And then for the bikes too, for the big system, transit also transferring the bikes to e-bikes. So this is to tackle the problem the lack of efficiency of bikes, and as we think that e-bike could improve a bit the efficiency of this transportation way. And then the Nova bus, which we are trying to use all electric buses in the public transport bus. And in the end, also for the train, as we can see, Quebec is testing the hydrogen train between Quebec City and Bay-Saint-Paul. So this is also something that we think is good to do and keep testing it, and in one day change all our train into a cleaner resource supported train.
So now we will present you some features we want to add to our system. And the first one will be to promote e-bikes. So we want to give free access for everyone for the e-bike system the first year. And after that, all users can pay with Wellway points to use the service with the application and just to take a bike from a station and use it. And because we want to connect people together when they do some physical activity, we want to implement a modular system with basically modular bikes who can connect or detach to allow passengers to do bikes together or not. And because in Wellway, we believe the electricity generated by muscles is the future, we want to allow passengers to do some physical activity in the wagons and to replace the gym by the transport system or to do some sport when they go to work or when they go to home. And when they will do some activity in the vegans, don't worry, they will produce electricity and so generate the electricity use or what can I say? Useful for the system. Sorry. Moreover, we want to allow some connections between all the different systems, and so for that we want our buses to be able to go on the rail lines. So in some regions in Quebec, like in the isolated regions, we want to allow buses to go further and to go faster to these regions, and so they will be able to use the rail lines for that. And finally, a final feature will be something we will have in our cars and especially in the EV, and it will be the Just Drive Bro system. So basically, we want just really simple cars because really often the electric vehicles have a lot of options like autopilot and things like that, and we want just to redefine the new cars and to be really simple with just an electric car, and you can use some how can I say that, les pédales. You can use some things to do some activity with your family, with your passenger, and to produce some electricity for the car. But really, we want to redefine the vehicle experience in the railway. And for that, we plan to add some infrastructure to all across the Quebec. So the first one will be the ReFlow, the Flowway Community Centers. So for that, we will just um, create some multimodal stations. So in these stations, you will be able to access all the different transport systems, and we will add some shops and malls to allow people to really can do everything in a station. So they will just take the bus, take the train, take a bike, and after or before going to work, they will be able to go to the groceries, for example. And with our cars, electric cars, we want really to create a new way of sharing electricity in our system. And so when you will come back to a station with an electric vehicle, the vehicle will connect to the main system and will reverse the electricity flow. So because you will do some activity in the cars, you will produce some electricity, and when we will connect to a station, this electricity will go back to the main system and just um, give electricity for other transport system like tramway or metro. And so for that, we will just create a flow web that's we want to connect these stations with a really multimodal lines and connections. So we want to create really to don't how can I say that? We don't want to create too much infrastructure and don't we want to densify the transport system. And so for that we will just add the lines above each other. So we will have all the lines, cars, train, metro and tramway lines all above each other, and it will be like a really like a web, really like a network between all the stations. And we think our network to improve the tourism in Quebec and to improve the economics. So for that, we just based our system on the electric lines from Hydro-Québec and from the rail line already existing. And we will just add our stations at every hot points in Quebec to connect even the isolated regions. And we will go to, and we want to not only connect the cities, but we want also connect nature sites and and promote and improve the tourism in Quebec.
So in conclusion, this is kind of our whole holistic integrated system. So we recommend to the government to continue striving for zero emission, to move away from the use of personal light vehicles. As we know, the roads are very expensive to maintain and they're very highly subsidized. So to do that, we will try to unify the transport modes as we described earlier. And in doing so, in parallel, we'll try to promote a healthy lifestyle, so promoting community value, integrating exercise into everybody's daily commute, as well as encouraging people to use public transport as a whole. So kind of an aside to our development process. So ways we try to push the boundaries in terms of creativity. So we applied the design thinking steps and the Sawyer steps. So we went through the cycle, we looked around, we collected data, we kind of tried to think about it, ideate, play with the data, play with ideas. We combined ideas, we filtered out good ones, bad ones, and then we finally made we generated our solutions, our ideas, and we assembled it into a visual way that presents it immediately. And then the scamper method definitely was very helpful in our development process. So it allowed us to produce some very unique combinations and adaptations in our designs. And then finally, just the idea of using AI image generation, so creating completely original media based on prompts that we have come up with using the scamper method. So all the pictures, most of the pictures you see are generated from the DALL-E model AI network. So thanks. We just want to thank you guys for listening to our proposition to the Quebec government, and I guess we can hold a Q&A session from the experts as well, or from the room.